Hello, everyone. Welcome to my webinar, All Things Journaling, Healing in Pen. My name is Sygga, and I will be your presenter today. And I am so grateful for all of you for being here, joining with me. Thank you. I see everyone's responses in the chat. It's good to see y'all. So before we get started, just a few ground rules that's going to help us get through this very smoothly. First, please stay muted. There will be a time for Q&A at the end, but we can use the chat for now for any questions that you have, and feel free to use little emoji reactions if you want to interact. I would recommend having paper and pen for note-taking. We're going to get through a lot of information in like a super short period of time, but a lot of information nonetheless. And then if anything happens, if you log out for some reason by accident or this thing shuts down, you can use the same link that you used the first time to log back in, and we'll be good. All right. So thank you again for coming. What are we talking about in this journaling webinar? We're going over what is journaling, why should I journal, what does the researcher say, what is happening in the science, why is journaling important? We're going to talk about journaling techniques, battling inconsistency if you struggle with inconsistency, and then I have some goodie bags to give you guys at the end. Okay, so does anyone know what the number one rule of journaling is? The number one rule. I'm gonna let y'all take about 15 to 20 seconds to think about it, but there's one rule specific to journaling. What do y'all think it is? You can put it in the chat if you think you know what it is. Just write, be honest, consistency, don't hold back. Yes, these are good. Don't think about it. Yeah. So the number one rule is that there are no rules. There are no rules to this thing, you guys. This is your space. This is your journal. No one's coming behind you to check your work. You know, you can do whatever you want. You can set it up how you want, talk how you want, talk about what you want. It's all up to you. This is your space. So this quote that I want to start off with by Jen Williamson is a wonderful way for us to set the tone for everything we're about to talk about. It says, journal writing, when it becomes a ritual for transformation, is not only life-changing, but life-expanding. So the purpose here is for you all to walk away with tools, gems, techniques, tips, tricks that will help you to be able to use journaling as something that's life-changing and expanding for you. So let's start with the what and the why. What is journaling and why should you try it? So we know that journaling is opening up the journal, taking the pen and writing down the words, but it's actually a lot deeper than that. So let's talk about it. First, journaling is a spiritual practice. It is a manifestation and healing tool that we can use to heal the past, manifest the future, and also something that we can use to stay present and connect with our spirit team. Also, it is a second home. So this is a space where you can be angry, happy, sad, scared, rude, imagine in your imaginary world, authentic. This is your space. Sometimes when I'm like going through things, I have a lot of thoughts going on, a lot of emotions. I always run to my journal because it feels like that safe space. It feels like another home. It's a conversation between you, your spirit team, and the universe, or God, whatever you want to call it. It is the physical form of your thoughts and emotions, the unraveler of your thoughts. It is quality time with your inner self. And lastly, it is a quad processing tool. So let's talk about what a quad processing tool is. The quad or double processing tool, depending on how you use it. So this is the reason why journaling is one of the most powerful processing, healing, manifestation tools that there is. I may be a little biased because journaling did change my life for the better, but it is what it is nonetheless. So automatically, every time you journal, you're automatically doing a double processing tool. And that is you're thinking the thoughts and you're also writing the thoughts down. But after that, there's one more step that you can add that will make this a quad processing tool, is that as you're writing, you can say the words out loud. So if you're doing that, this then takes it to you're thinking the thoughts, You're writing the thoughts down, you're speaking the thoughts out into the universe, and you're also listening to the thoughts. You're listening to the words that you're speaking. So this is very powerful for both the end of healing and manifestation. If you're manifesting, as we know, anything that we put out into the universe, we get back tenfold. So this is you putting it out through your thoughts, thought impulses. This is you writing it down, putting it into the physical, speaking it out to the universe. And then you're also listening and affirming yourself as you're manifesting these next things that you want. And then for healing, this is really like super powerful, because one thing about healing, it's our bodies telling us that we need to process some things. Like if we have thoughts that are coming up over and over again, we have emotions that keep bubbling up to the surface. This is our body letting us know that it's time for us to work through some things. And if we keep pushing the thoughts down, we keep pushing the emotions down, then we're getting in our own way of our own healing. So if we're thinking the thoughts, we're writing them down, we're speaking, and we're listening as we're healing, we're able to process the emotions and the thoughts in all of these different ways.
Hey, Sygga, is your Canva playing?
Yes. Is it not playing?
I think we're still on the home page.
Oh, no. Okay, 1 second. Let's see. Sorry, guys. Okay, we're gonna do this. Okay, now you guys should see what I see. Are we good now, Britt?
Perfect.
Yay, thank you. Okay, so that was me going through the quad processing tool. So now the why. We went through the what, now we're going to talk about why should you journal. So journaling allows us to filter through our thoughts. We don't say everything that we're thinking. So just like we don't say, well, maybe you do, and if you do, that's cool too. But if we're thinking thoughts and we're writing, we don't have the time, the energy to write down every single word that comes to our mind, of course. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to think the thoughts and we're going to filter through and write down what's most important, which takes us to our second point, prioritizing our goals, issues, fears, and concerns. So if we have like 10 to 20 different things in our lives that we're stressing about, we're going back and forth about it, it's causing a bunch of emotions to come up, but we can't write about it all. Maybe we only got, 20 to 30 minutes. One thing about journaling is that it will help you to prioritize, okay, what do I need to write about right now? What is heaviest on my heart to really figure out? And then also processing information and events, ruminating thoughts from multiple perspectives. So just as I was saying earlier, these thoughts that are going through our heads over and over again, if they're good thoughts, then great. But the not so great thoughts that are coming to the forefront to be processed, this is a wonderful way of doing that. Also, managing anxiety and reducing stress and identifying patterns. So what are the experts saying? You don't have to take my word for it, okay? There's research being done about why journaling is such a powerful tool. So journaling and mental efficiency. The National Science Foundation and National Institutes of Health funded the research for the first neural evidence of the benefits of expressive writing. So what these researchers did was they took a group of college students that identified as chronically anxious. None of these students knew anything about the study and what they were going to be doing. All that they knew is that they qualified because they were anxious. So then on day of, they split them into two different groups. One group did expressive writing. So they talked about how they felt about going into this study, but knowing nothing about it. And then the second group, they did a journal entry on just talking about, what happened in your week or how was your day yesterday, something like that. And what they found was that I'm sorry, after they did the writing, they then did some responsive tasks. So something came up on the screen, like a picture of a cat, for example, and then 4 words at the bottom came up and they had to choose the right word that represented the picture. So cat, dog, and 2 other words. So what they found is that both groups tied on speed and accuracy, but the group that wrote about their anxieties around going into the session in the first place, they answered more efficiently, meaning that they used fewer brain resources measured with an EEG. And lead researcher, Dr. Schroeder stated, our findings show that if you get worries out of your head through expressive writing, those cognitive resources are freed up to work towards the task you're completing and you become more efficient. And this is why sometimes we can go through our days and we're doing the same stuff. It's the same day that we did the day before, but for some reason today, it just might seem a whole lot like it takes more energy or more draining in some way. That's because we have our thoughts in these other places and our energy in all these other places. So not only do we have to refocus our energy, but we also have to pull ourselves away from these other thoughts. Journaling is a way for us to dump the thoughts out of our brain, out of our bodies, and leave room for other things. And then another, journaling and emotional regulation. So a new brain imaging study by UCLA psychologists reveals that putting our feelings into words makes sadness, anger, and pain less intense. So they sum up their research by saying, in the same way you hit the brake when you're driving, when you see a yellow light, when you put feelings into words, you seem to be hitting the brake on your emotional responses. So how many times have we been put in a situation where when we look back on it, the situation wasn't that big of a deal, but for some reason we just like exploded, we exploded on a certain person or a group of people, situation, whatever the case may be. It's not necessarily because the situation called for that, but it's because we have this queue of like 10, 15, 20 different things with no way of truly expressing and getting those emotions out. So that extra thing right on top just really sent us off. So we can hit the brakes on our emotional responses through expressing, through creative writing. Okay, so we went through the what and the why. Now we're going to look at the how. So journaling techniques, tips, and tricks. I'm going to give you guys 6 different techniques that I have used that have been very, very powerful for me. And I hope that you all can walk away and feel like there's something that you can use as well. So we're going to look at life journaling, recoding, meditative free writing, gratitude listing, check-in/updates, and I am affirmations. Before we get into that, a meaningful setup. So it's so important that we have a space that feels sacred to us. It feels set up right for us. It's something that I don't want to use the word taking seriously, but just something that we are, I guess you could say, serious about. So this is the way that I set up my journal. I put the time and the date. If I'm outside, I'll also put the temperature up on the right. And then on the left, I'll put where I'm at and what I'm doing. So date, time, temp, and then I usually say like on my balcony or on my couch, in my bed, something like that. And then after I do all of my writing, at the end, I also put the end time. It may not make sense now, but I promise you, if you start journaling and then 6 months in the future, you look back on this journal entry, the fact that you have the end time is just like the cherry on top for some reason. I don't know, but it feels nice. So this is just a recommendation, but of course, your journal, no rules, do it as you please. So tracking/life journaling. Life journaling is, I feel like, the go-to technique for someone who's never journaled. This is what they would probably think of when journaling. This is keeping tabs on our progress, triggers, and milestones. This is that, journaling at the end of the day, talking about how the day went, or maybe you do it at the end of the week and you talk about how your week was. This is really, it's like a mile marker type of thing, or just something for you to look at one day in the future and be like, oh, okay, that's what I did that day. That's nice. But if you want to use it more intentionally, you can also use it to track situations, conversations, moods, and triggers. So at the end of the day, you can be like, okay, this triggered me today. This is how I felt today. And this is what happened that possibly could have triggered me. And then over time, you'll be able to pick up on those patterns. The next one is recoding, telling a different story, the thoughts to beliefs pipeline. This is probably one of my favorite journaling techniques. I can honestly say this is the one that has really like changed my life over time. And if you listen to Abraham Hicks at all, then you know exactly what I'm talking about when I say thoughts to beliefs pipeline, because she teaches that beliefs are nothing more than a thought that we just keep thinking over and over and over again. And the beautiful thing about our minds, about our brains, is that we can recode, we can learn, unlearn, and relearn. So this is a technique for that. Step one is identifying the negative self-talk. So if you're driving in your car one day and you're saying, you know, I can't, or I wish I could, or something that's like holding you back, boom, you've identified one. You may not be able to do it in the moment, writing it down, but hold on to it for later. Because later, you're going to open your journal and you're going to write down whatever that negative thought was, which probably will feel weird, but do it anyway. And the reason that it's going to feel weird is because, once again, filtering through. So we'll think lots of things, but how many things we actually say, we actually write, that's going to be a lot slimmer. And it's harder to write things that don't feel good. So, but it's okay, still do it. And then after you write it, we're going to tell a different story. So for example, I wasted so much time, money, resources on X, Y, and Z. I shouldn't have done that. You know, if I could go back, I would have done this and that, just like really living in the past. A way that we can recode this is, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, and my experiences are preparing me for my desires. I am right on time. And just like that, you have an affirmation that is specific to you and your situation, specific to your traumas, specific to the beliefs that you've carried from your past, whether it's been, you know, a month or a year or a decade, whatever it's come from, you now have affirmations you can post up, you can write them, whatever you need to do to help affirm yourself. This is a as you go activity, not necessarily done in one sitting. I'm not saying to list out all of the negative thoughts you might have in a day. That is another way to go about it. But just as they come up, doing that. And then it's also a great tool to use alongside shadow work. The way that I see shadow work, the way that I usually explain it is that we have a garden of our lives, right? And in the garden, we have several different plants and trees and fruits and veggies. Everything is growing and blossoming and blooming beautifully. But as you look in your garden, every single plant represents a different event in your life. It represents a different moment. And sometimes there may be a plant that isn't doing too well. Maybe it needs better light. Maybe it needs a different type of soil, whatever the case may be. So shadow work is when we go into our garden of life and we dig up that plant that we see is not thriving. And when we dig it up, we look at it, we figure out, okay, what is it? Is it the soil? Is it the sun, the water? And then after we figure it out, we take that new seed, which is the new affirmation that you created, and we put it into the soil and we allow it to grow and replant. So that's exactly what we're doing here. And that's also exactly why it goes hand in hand with recoding. Okay, so the meditative free write, letting it flow. This is the most, in my opinion, the most simple one, but from feedback I've heard from other people, is not necessarily the easiest. But here's how you can go about it. Option one is to meditate and then journal whatever comes to mind afterwards. So in the midst of a meditation, we get downloads, things come up to the surface, we have thoughts that we haven't had in a long time, all types of things happen in meditation. Whatever happens in your mind during meditation, afterwards do a brain dump, list it all out. Option number two is to use the journaling session itself as the meditation. And this is not like the previous exercise where we're writing about our day or writing about the week specifically. This is for you to write whatever you want, whatever comes to mind. And the reason why it's called a meditative free write is because it's not about thinking, it's about flowing and just allowing it to come out and channel. Can you rant? Yes. Can you complain? Yes. Can you talk shit? Yes. The purpose here is for you to release internally trapped thoughts, emotions, and energies. You can do whatever you want. And people ask me all the time, I feel like I'm writing too much negative stuff, or like I feel like I'm not manifesting enough in my journal. your journal is your space to do what you need to do. If you are writing negative stuff about your life for a week or so, this is because you need that week to process the information. Like I was saying before, our bodies and our minds need to process, and that is okay. Gratitude listing, saying thank you. So this technique is using the time to really dig deep for everything big and small that you are grateful for, and just say thank you. Be sure to include the past, so experiences, lessons, gifts, the present moment, home, status, job, family, your warm bed, your stocked fridge. And also, if you want to manifest in the same, all in the same stroke, I mean, you don't have to, but if you want to, then you can also start saying thank you for the things that are coming in the future. But you're saying thank you from a place of it's already mine and I've already received it. Because vibrationally in our vortex world, we have received it. Energetically, it's already ours. It just hasn't entered the physical yet. But the easiest way to bring that into the physical is to show gratitude for what you already know your spirit team, the universe, is going to be doing for you. And then check-ins / updates, a well-rounded life check. So this is the process of listing out various aspects of your life, work, family, friends, love, etc., and writing about how you currently feel about each topic. You can do bullet points, you can write a reflective paragraph or 2 or 3 or more, whatever you want to do. So for example, let's say that you want to go in about work. So you write work, and then certain questions that you could ask. What feelings come up when I say the word work? Are they negative feelings or are they positive feelings? What's working within your job or your career? What's not working? Why isn't it working? What things can you address now? What things are more of a long-term transition? What is your ultimate goal? And what is the very next step to get you there? These are just example questions that you can ask. You can write whatever you want, whatever comes up. But what this is literally you checking in with yourself, with your spirit, checking in on how you feel in the spaces that you show up in, and how are these spaces showing up for you, your relationship spaces, your work spaces, with anything, whatever it is. So this is great. And this also can help you track things over time. So you can do a check-in once a week. You can do a check-in at the end of each month. You can do like a new year type of check-in, however you want to do it. And then the last one, I am affirmations, journaling into your power. This is also, well, I feel like I've said this is one of my favorites for everyone, but I really do love all of these techniques. I am affirmations will really help you manifest what's next and help you to step into these roles that you may be having, like that imposter syndrome in. So all you have to do is finish the sentence. I am, and then anything that you need at that time. I am beautiful. I am free. I am whole. I am creative. And then any type of roles that you want to step in, go ahead and claim it. I am an artist. I am a professional singer or a professional, well-known artist, whatever you want to say. You are these things, and you can go ahead and step into those roles now. So you fill the page and another, if that's what feels good to you, or maybe you just write a couple, whatever you want to do. This is you talking to yourself, talking back to your inner child, talking back to that version of you that was stuck in that trauma or that relationship or whatever it may be. You're journaling into your next steps. Okay, so wait, we got all these techniques and stuff, but what if the real issue is consistency? Well, I do have some tips and tricks for that as well. So if you struggle with consistency, number one, the habit trigger. This is something that I've used in the past, and I think it's really, really profound, especially if you can, if you're really serious about it. You have a habit that you want to change, that you don't want to act on anymore, and then you pair it with journaling. So for example, if you want to stop smoking, whenever you have that feeling of smoking come up, instead of it triggering you to smoke, it triggers you to journal. And this is a technique that you can use with anything. If you want to stop eating fast food as much, so every time you think of fast food, then that pushes you to meditate. This could be used with anything. And then routine scheduling. If you're the type of person that does well with a solid routine, you do well with something that's like scheduled out for you, then you can add journaling into your morning schedule, last thing you do at night, something you do on your lunch break, whatever is for you. Now, if you're the type of person that does not like schedules and routines, this actually brings up some anxiety for you, then number 3 is going to be the better option, which is just keeping your journal on you. If you have a moment and the urge to journal just comes up, but you're like, dang, I don't have my journal, it's at home. And then by the time you get back home, the vibe is gone. You can keep it on you. So whenever that vibe comes up, you can go ahead and tap in. And then purchase a journal that you love and take pride in, which is super important also, because if you just got like a little piece of paper or some journal that you found in the back of the closet underneath everything with everything else, then it doesn't feel as real. It doesn't feel like your space to really come to. So if it's something that you take pride in, something that you love, something you love to open with your cute little pen or whatever that is, that's going to help you a lot. And then the last thing is, don't try to be perfect. Do it when you can and create a relaxing energy around the practice. This is not, I don't want this to ever be something for y'all that feels like a task or like an extra thing you got to add to your already hectic day. That's not what this is for. Like I was saying at the beginning, this is a second home. This is a space that you are cultivating for you and your spirit team, you and your higher self. You know, this is your space. So it should always feel relaxing and good and flowy. All right, so these are my sources, and thank you guys so much, but we are not done. So if you have any type of time conflicts or anything like that, I did want to leave a space for people to know that that's the tips and tricks that I'm sharing for journaling, but I'm also going to talk about ways that we can stay connected. I'm going to give you guys your goodie bags, and then we are going to do a Q&A at the end. I have several ways for you guys to connect with me. I have my website, thejourney.com. The E's are 3s. You can email me, info@thejourney.com. You can follow me on Instagram or Twitter. Instagram or TikTok. If you already follow me on Instagram, then you probably know that there are a billion fake pages of me. This is my only page. I only have one page per platform. I will never DM you asking for a reading or anything like that. And then you can also follow me on YouTube at The Earthly Spirit Guide. But what I can offer to you all, I have personal readings that you can book on my website. I also have group readings. So a group reading, you don't have to have a group of people with you. This is just something that you sign up for and show up for, and it's a maximum of 25 people. This is a more affordable route for you to get direct messages. And I've had plenty of readings where people are like, oh, this felt like a personal reading. Like I felt the messages directly for me. And that's how it should feel. That's how I feel like it will always feel. I can't promise anything, but from what I know and my experience, that's how it's going to feel. I also do spiritual coaching. You can book that on my website, Instagram and TikTok. Webinars. This is the first webinar that I'm doing, but I do plan on doing more. So you can check me out again there. Any type of professional or large group trainings, you can email me. And if anyone lives in New York City, I will be in New York on Sunday, March 12th, and I'm doing a birthday brunch. So I was like, why not invite the people that support me and follow me so that we can connect more deeply. So if you live in New York City and will be available that day, I think I have like 4 or 5 more spots open, and you can shoot me a DM or email me and let me know, and I'll add you to the list. Okay, goodie bags. This is it's a little gift from me to you. Thank you guys for coming once again, taking your time out of your evening to be here. So I'm going to send all of this in an email after the fact, but this is just so you have it now. 10% off any product or service in my store. I'll send you the code. And then also your first group reading is only going to be $10. I'm going to send you a code for that too. My group readings are every Saturday at 9 a.m. and 12 p.m. I'm not going to be doing it this Saturday because my birthday, Pisces season, but on the 18th is my next group reading. So you can sign up for that. Your first one's $10. And I'm also going to be giving you all my angel numbers e-guide for free. So this goes through the most popular 3-digit angel numbers, and also like 1, 2, 3, 4, 12, 12, those other numbers as well. And then if you would like to post a review or anything like that, you can post it on your story and tag me within 24 hours. And it'll be $15 off any 30 or 60-minute reading. And you get the link to the recording. of course. So that is my gift to y'all. You don't have to write anything down. I'm gonna give y'all the codes in the email. And yes, okay, so Q&A. I don't know if you guys put anything in the chat because I could not see the chat, but let's see. Oh, I don't wanna. Y'all gonna be able to see the chat a little bit. Oh, yay, I love this, thank you. Okay, let's see. I'm getting some of the questions that came up. What is a good time to journal? I heard at night is best. Journaling can happen at any time. I don't think there's any time that's really the best time. It just depends on day to day. For me, sometimes it's waking up early in the morning and journaling before I start my day. That works best for me. For other people, it's ending their day off with journaling and reflecting on the whole day. Sometimes it's midday because I'm stressed out and I need to release. There is no right or wrong way. It just depends on what you need at the time. Oh, you guys asked that twice. Okay, got it. Let's see, when you're trying to meditate, how do you bring yourself back if you space out? So with this, I would choose something to ground you in the moment, whether it's your breath, whether it's the sounds around you. Sometimes people like to hold their hand on their chest and another hand on their stomach just to stay present with their bodies. The one thing about zoning out and having to bring yourself back is that it happens and it's a thing, and you should just allow it to flow, allow it to be a part of the practice. It's not necessarily about sitting and being tuned in the entire time. It's about training your mind, and anything that comes with training takes practice, consistency, and also it's going to take you having to bring yourself back on track sometimes. But finding something to ground yourself is going to be the best way to bring yourself back. Is it okay to write down your fears during journaling without enabling them or giving them power? Yes. This is the thing. And this is the whole concept of journaling. Journaling allows you to step back into your power. You writing out your fears does not give them more power. It's giving you more power because you're able to identify the things that are in your way. Fears are the things that are in your way. And if you're able to say, okay, I have a fear of, I don't know, I'm gonna say failing. I have a fear of failing. If you write that down, then that's something that you can look at and be like, okay, so now what? You know, where do we go from here? That's 110% fine. Let's see. And that's also why I wanted to highlight the idea of there being two separate ways of journaling in terms of journaling to manifest and journaling to heal. Because I don't want you guys to think that if you're journaling to heal and you're talking about the past and you're talking about your fears, that means that you are in some way keeping yourself from manifesting the next thing. No, you're processing through the things that are already in your mind. What is the biggest difference you've noticed as far as your connection with your spiritual team since journaling? Ooh, I like that. The biggest difference. One thing about the quiet processing, when you're able to write it, think it, speak it, and hear it, is that it kind of gives you, sometimes it feels like you're getting a different perspective, which really could be you channeling. And in me journaling, I'm like, okay, I'm only going to, not only, let me not contradict what I just said. I don't mean only, but if I'm in the process of doing like a manifestation type of journaling technique, then I'm saying to myself, I'm only going to write down the things that I know my spirit guides or my ancestors. I'm only going to write down the way that they see me. Like I want to see myself through their eyes. So therefore, in me manifesting, I'm not going to say, you know, I wish I could, because that's not, no, I will, I can, you know, up next, I will. And I think that has helped me to connect more with their voice and seeing myself through their lens, you know? Is that all of my answer? Yeah, I think so. Through me sharing my voice in my journal, I've been able to tap into their voice more clearly. Could you give a couple examples of recoding? I didn't get it 100%. And the shadow work. Yes. Let me go back to that slide. So with the recoding, what I'm talking about here is taking the negative thoughts and transforming them into affirmations that can actually push us forward. So negative thoughts are holding us back. How can we tell this story over to push us forward? So for example, let me try to use a different example. You're at work, you're going about your day and you're like, oh, I could never move up here, or I could never climb up the ranks, or I could never hold a position. I don't believe in my ability to hold a position of leadership. Let's just say that's what the negative thought is. And that could come from anything in the past. That could be coming from, you held a leadership position in the past and someone told you that you weren't a good leader and you just carry that with you. So now you feel like you can't lead. Well, if you have that thought and you recognize it and you go into your journal and write it down, you then say, okay, how can I transform this thought into something that can actually help me and help me move forward? So I don't believe in my ability to hold a leadership role. Into my past experiences have shaped me into the person that I am today, and has allowed, and I'm continuing to grow. And I'm just giving an example. I'm continuing to grow into the version of myself that can be in that leadership position. Or it could be something very simple. I am a leader. That's it. If you feel like you couldn't step into a leadership position, it doesn't matter. You're a leader, whether or not the leadership title is given to you within a job or not. That's what I meant by that. I hope that makes sense. Whoever asked that question, please let me know if that resonated with you. What helps in creating the correct journal prompts? I think with journal prompts, they're always a question. So it really just depends on what you're going through in your life right now. So if you have, it's about identifying the emotions and then stepping outside and saying, okay, how do I tackle this? So for example, if you're feeling, I don't know, if you've been more angry than usual lately and you've been, bleeding on people that didn't cut you, then this is a good time to do, let me think of a question. Like, I've noticed that I have a short temper lately. Where in my life am I giving more than I'm receiving? If that's what you feel like the short temper is coming from, where am I entering spaces where I am not accepted and appreciated for the fullness of who I am? And then you can go through and start writing that out. Another thing is you can buy like an Oracle deck that has specific for journaling prompts, and you can shuffle and pick something for the day. You can Google something if you want like a general prompt. There's thousands of prompts out there. But if you want something more specific to you, then it's going to first come from identifying the emotion that you need to process, and then figuring out, okay, why am I in this emotion and what questions do I need to ask myself about this space? Did journaling help you connect with your guides better? Yes, it did. It did. That's what I was saying earlier about me being able to see myself through their lens. The more that I tapped into journaling. Specifically, when I tapped into manifesting journaling and also empowerment journaling, like the I am statements. What do you feel like your team is saying to you? I am beautiful, I am worthy, I am enough, all of those things, all of those I am statements really helped me as well. I had someone violate my space by reading my diary when I was younger. Do you have tips to heal from that? I believe that trauma is blocking me from being consistent. I have a few follow-up questions, but with the information that you shared, tips to heal from that. This sounds like maybe your inconsistencies maybe coming from your spirit still not feeling safe. So I would go in with some affirmations, telling yourself, I am safe now. And one of my follow-up questions is this person still around? Like, can this happen again with this person potentially? And are there other people around you? So if there are new people around you, then I would say potentially having a conversation with them. If you really want to step into this personal, and then if you really want to step into journaling and make this a personal thing, just being like, hey, I'm about to take on this new journey. I'm about to start this new spiritual practice. And this is my journal. This is my space. And these are my rules about it. If you don't want it to be something super crazy like that, then I would really do some deep reflection. I would take myself back into that situation and look at everything that was involved. Who was the person that read the journal? Where were they at that time? Like, were they super young and didn't know any better? They thought it was a game? Or were they older and you feel like it was more intentional, like they were trying to get some information from you? And then taking that and looking at that version of yourself and saying, okay, how did I feel in that space? And how can I transform myself today to heal that version of myself? Think about anything you need to tell that version of yourself. Give yourself those affirmations. I hope that helped without me really having the answers the answers that I needed to some questions. Do you use journaling for any business needs / creating content? What's funny about that is all of the content that I create comes, I wouldn't say directly from my journal, but it definitely comes directly from my life experiences, which I'm journaling about all the time. I'm an avid journaler. I journal, if not every day, probably every other day, not because I'm this super consistent person, just because I found the healing magic within it. And I always want to tap into it because I know it keeps me balanced. For business, yes. I was just talking about this the other day. I have manifested everything in my current reality through my journal. And just me saying, you know what, back when I was starting off very, very early social media, I knew that I had my goals in mind. And I used to say, Spirit, thank you. Thank you for X amount of followers. Thank you for X amount of sales within my business. Thank you for helping me scale my business to this. Like, I would say thank you for all of the things that I knew were coming in for me, but that weren't necessarily there in the physical. Do you feel journaling via video is less impactful than writing down your thoughts? Journaling via video. Well, I've never tried that. I've never, I guess you would call that vlogging, but personal vlogging. I've never tried it, but I do know that the main thing that makes journaling so powerful is the quiet processing tool. So the writing, listening, speaking, and thinking. If you're doing the video, then you don't have the writing aspect. But if it works for you, honestly, this is all about expressing yourself, being able to have something to empty out your queue of buildups of life. So if that works for you, then that's beautiful. I don't think that there's any right or wrong answer to that. Okay, we'll do a couple more. Do you read back over everything after writing? No, I don't. I usually write and leave it. Sometimes I will. I'm trying to think. Usually when I read back on it, it's because I'm coming back to an entry from a few months ago. I usually just dump it out and let it stay exactly where it's at. Personally, I don't think there's anything wrong with reading it back. If I did journal something that felt very powerful in a positive way, then sometimes I will read it back, but outside of that, no. Do you have any tips or tricks to bring back a thought you had? I sometimes lose my train of thought while writing and don't get to write it all down. No tricks come up off the top of my head. When I do this, I usually just let it flow because I really take journaling as just like sometimes as a channeling thing. Like whatever comes up, is what I need to write. And then if I lose it, I'm like, well, I guess that wasn't what we needed to talk about right now. And I just take it as that. It's very similar to how I do my readings, my oracle readings. If the message comes and I'm about to say it, but then it goes away, then it just wasn't meant to be said. But that doesn't mean that it won't come back up later. So I would just take the pressure off and just free write it. I feel like that might come from your anxiety of, well, I'm not saying you have anxiety, but it may come from an anxiety of not being able to get all of your thoughts onto the paper. But don't worry about that. That's the whole point in the filtering that we were talking about, filtering our thoughts into writing. Okay, last question that we're going to do. Should you have a separate journal for healing and for manifesting? Some people like to do that. I have one journal for everything, one home, and I feel like it's also that's a really good way of seeing your progress and where you were over time. Just, seeing your outcome, your outlook of the year, it's all in order. I don't do two journals. Some people like to because they feel like, okay, this is my good journal and then this is my quote unquote bad journal, but there is no bad journal. There's no bad entries. So I don't really like to look at it that way. I would keep it all in one. That's just how I go about it. But you don't have to do it that way if you don't want to, for sure. Okay. I'm going to stop sharing now, so I can see the chat. Okay, beautiful. I think we probably got to everything. Do you use different journals for different techniques of journaling? Nope. I do it all the same. Notes and phone journaling versus on paper, does it matter? I personally think, yes, it does matter. There's something very sacred and special about the act of writing, the act of actual scripture. People like to do journaling in their phone. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. If that's how you connect, 100% do it. But yeah, writing is sacred. Yeah, you're welcome, Jolie. Thank you guys so much for being here. I'm so grateful for y'all. Of course, thank you. Yay, aw. That makes me feel so much better because I was so nervous, y'all. Thank you. I'm grateful for y'all. Have a good night. I'll let y'all kind of go as you please. If you have any other questions, I'm looking at the chat. Oh, because you can type faster. Yeah, I would recommend like using the phone to put the thoughts down to remind yourself of what you're going to journal about later, but I wouldn't replace the journaling with the phone. Personally, I wouldn't. It's also very easy to get distracted on your phone. Like 1 minute you journaling on the phone, the next minute you got a text message or a notification from Instagram. It can be a lot of things. It's a mix of all these techniques to journal. Can we use a mix of all? Yes, this is what this was about, y'all. These are all techniques. Use one day, use another time. This is for you to do it however you want, 100%. Have a good night. Thank you. Love you, Pumpkin. Love you too. Wonderful. Glad to hear it. You're welcome, guys. Which one is my favorite? Do I have a favorite? Probably the I am affirmations, because the I am affirmations are what have really put me into my being whoever I want to be, showing up however I want to show up bag. Because I'm like, yeah, back when I'm gonna use social media, since I think a lot of y'all know me from social media. Back when I had less than 1,000 followers, I was like, thank you, Spirit, for 10K. Thank you. I'm so grateful. I'm here. I deserve it. I love it. And I was walking around. You couldn't tell me I ain't have 10K followers. I don't care if it say 900. In my mind, it's 10K. And now we way past that. So that's why that's one of my favorites. What do you do when you fill up a journal? How long do you keep them? I am on my 8th journal now, 7th or 8th journal now. When I'm done with them, I store mine away like at the bottom of my dresser. And I look back on them when I want. I use it to record my dreams and to interpret them as well. So sometimes I'm looking back like, did my dream, did I see that this was gonna happen? If something crazy happens, I'm like, did I already know that? Sometimes I did, sometimes I can't find anything, but I keep them forever. I hope that by the time I'm 80, 90 years old, I'll have like maybe 80 or 90 journals and I'll just have them. And when I pass on, it'll be like the universal guidebook for my kids and grandkids. I don't know. I'm gonna keep them though, and they're gonna do whatever they need to do. OMG, yes, it's the IM ones for me too. Yes, I love the IMs. I keep my notes app on speed dial for this very reason. I deal with the same thing. My thoughts are really quick and they escape me. How can I combat that? Yeah, if your thoughts are quick, I would suggest the meditative free write. So you can meditate first, calm your mind down, slow down your body, and then tap into the journaling. Yay. Grateful for you guys. Thank you so much. You're welcome, Belima. I hope I pronounced that right. Any other questions? Your grandkids would be using your 90 journals as a Bible for real. Honestly, that's the goal. That's the goal. It's a survival guide. Okay, everyone. I'm going to end us there if there are no other questions. Again, thank you guys so much for coming. Sending you so much love. I hope that we connect in some way soon. Be on the lookout for the email. If it goes to it might go to your spam box, so just make sure you check in on that. Okay. Thank you. Thank you guys. Good night.